Hello everyone, this is Josef Notch here, and in this video I would like to show you how you can utilize our LaTeX template to create your own manuscript for the submission to the OpenFOAM Journal. So the first step that you have to do is just go to journal.openfoam.com and then go to the authors section and then go to the authors guidelines here. And there you see in the fourth point that we have a LaTeX template. Now, if you are unfamiliar with LaTeX or you don't think that your LaTeX skills are good enough, then there is an alternative of Authoria, which is a very simple way to set up a manuscript for submission. There is a separate video for the Authoria template, so then please make sure to check this out. But now I want to talk about our LaTeX template here. So this will download a zip file, as you can see, and then please download this zip file, and then once you have it, extract it and then open up the .tex file. Okay, so now let's just open up the tex file here. And if you're familiar with LaTeX, then you may already understand the basic setup of this tex file, but I do want to go through it step by step at this point. Okay, so first we have a couple of header lines, just a copyright notice, and that this LaTeX template was indeed taken from the template provided by AMS. It is under GPL. And then we start with the document class. So please leave these packages. We do use these packages for submission, so please don't delete any of the packages. Some packages can be added if you prefer, but please make sure that you do not destroy the styling of the pages with your packages. Okay, then as a next step, let us just build the PDF file out of this out of the LaTeX template, just to see what the first attempt here looks like. If you want to build it, you can do it in Linux, you can do it in Windows with MikTeX, or you can do it with Windows subsystem for Linux and then use the PDF compiler of Ubuntu for VSL. But it is important, and we do have this as a point here, that please install the full LaTeX distribution, not just the most common libraries. So in Ubuntu you would run the techlive -full installation. Okay. So then go please to your preferred LaTeX compiler, and then, so I'm just going to use here VSL and then the Ubuntu compiler, and now I'm just going to type in PDF LaTeX. Of course you can just use LaTeX and then generate a DVI file out of it and then convert the DVI file to PDF. This is completely up to you, and also depends on the ending of your figures. So I'm just going to type in PDF LaTeX and then our LaTeX file. So it is called OFJ-template. Please rename it to a more reasonable name. I'm just going to use here the default name. And now this compiles a PDF out of it, and we can take a look at it. So as you can see immediately that we have a larger line numbering for the review process, so please do not change this at this point. And also we enabled line numbering just to make sure that the reviewers can point you to the correct line where they identified possible mistakes. And yes, so this is what your PDF will look like. And then now let's just go through some of the points. So please don't change any of the packages here. It is important that you add the number, the version number that you are using and for which you tested your implementation for, so which OpenFOAM version, whether it's the .com version or the .org version or foam extent, it doesn't make a difference. Please just use the version number or version numbers here. And also you can see that we are using a macro /OF to use the correct styling of OpenFOAM, so you don't have to type in OpenFOAM every time. If you want to use that, you just use /OF for that. And then please don't change double spacing here, and then we start with the document here. Then we start with the title in the document, and you may be familiar with this LaTeX feature, maybe not. So in the second bracket you can type in your full title as you would like to see it on the front page, but in the first bracket you can use a short title, just so if you have a very long title, just so in the subsequent pages on the top you don't have a weird long title, so you can shorten it so you have on the subsequent pages more reasonable title. Okay, and then a very important point, please, for the submission, do not enter any author names here. This is something when your paper is submitted, then you change this and then you add all the authors and affiliations to the authors at this point, but please, for submission, do not add this, because we have a double-blind review process so that the reviewers don't see your identity. Okay. Similarly, please also here in the repository do not add any repository that you may have, because this may also lead reviewers to your identity. So for the double-blind review process, please leave out your repository. After acceptance, at this point the repository with your auxiliary data will be added by the editors. And another point in this regard is what we have here. So please, once you compile your final paper, then also name your paper full paper, T-note or ref paper, depending on into which section of the journal you want to submit. Please make sure to check out the information on this in the About and the Author section, and then just submit a PDF with either full paper or T-note or ref paper in the name, so without adding your name into the PDF file. This is also important. Good, and then in the next step you can add your abstract between the lines begin abstract and end abstract, and then you can start with your manuscript. So we have sections and subsections just like in any LaTeX document, so make sure to make use of these, and then you can start with an introduction and then your individual subsections in the introduction if you prefer to do so. And then you can follow up with additional sections as you want. And regarding equations, you can use different kinds of equations. You can use align and also other types in the after the document, and we have a couple of examples how you can use equations. So there are the numbered equations, there are unnumbered equations, and also there are aligned equations. So please make sure to use them according to your needs, whether you want to number them or not number them. This is up to you whether it makes sense, or whether you want to use an aligned equation. So here are the examples. Also, that there is an example of how to include a figure, so an image. And here is another example here. So how this is an example PNG that we created, just a dummy. Here is the example, just a dummy figure, just to show you how to include here a PNG file. If you have EPS files, then you can use them also. We also have a couple of points on checklists for figures, so please make sure that you fulfill all these points, and also in general that you fulfill all the points up here. Okay, so the same is true for tables. So here you have a rather complex table. So just use the usual table settings for LaTeX. You can just take this as an example, and you can also use listings just like this for more complex equations. And if you want to reference equations, sections, or figures, please make sure that you always add a label to that equation, for example, or to that table, or to that figure, and then you can reference the figure or the table with the ref command. So then you have to make sure that you type in ref and then this string that you put in as a label. You can also make a label to sections, label, and then section introduction, and then you can reference it accordingly. For example, like that. Okay, so this is how you reference your figures, your equations, and your tables in your LaTeX file. Okay, and then another point is a section for acknowledgements. So we do have an additional section which you can use if you want to use for acknowledgement, and there you can split acknowledgements for different people who was involved in the programming of the software, who was involved in experimental validation, who was involved in the methodology, and so on. So you can credit everyone. You don't have to use your initials. You can just type out their names depending on what you prefer. But here you can use an acknowledgement section where you can list all the contributors to this paper and then divide them up where they contributed it to. And also you can acknowledge possible fund giving entities as you prefer, but for the submission, please leave this out and only enter this at the end of your submission once your paper was accepted due to the double-blind review process. And then citations is another point that you have to take care of course, with every publication. So for that, we are loading the bibliography from a separate file, from a bib file. So if I just open this up, there is a typical one example for one publication. There is a link to templates which you can just use here, so you can then use different kinds of templates and then see what they look like, and then you can just copy paste and then use them for your bibtech file here. Okay, so in order to include a reference or citation, then all you have to do is look for a position where you want to cite this. So let's just say we want to cite this here, cite, and then use this entry here, copy, and then paste, and then you can save it. And then depending on whether you're using it, you're running Ubuntu or MikTeX, here in Ubuntu you have to first and after you created your first PDF, then you will also have a file with the ending aux, and then you type in bibtech and then your aux file. This will generate something, and now you can redo the generation of your PDF and then open it up again. And then let's see, where did we enter this? Here in the subsection, we enter the citation. So in the introduction subsection, and as you can see here, we have the citation of our reference. So this is how you add a citation in LaTeX. So please use the BIP file to do that, and then with the combination of the command biptech with the aux file and recompiling your PDF will then include that citation into your PDF. Okay, and after you are satisfied with the look of your final manuscript, then all you have to do is just take this PDF file and rename it, please, according to what we have written here, and then submit this PDF to the journal. And after your manuscript was accepted, then please add all the missing information. So for example, the authors, possibly your repository, your acknowledgement, and everything else that is linked to your person, so you can clearly be identified after publication. And then please then afterwards submit that final PDF with also your tech files. So best is then to just make a zip file out of your directory where you have all your LaTeX files and also all your figures, and then submit that zip file so that in the end we can generate our final PDF for the publication. So I hope that now with that you can use our LaTeX template for submissions. With that, I would like to thank you for watching and listening, and I hope to see you next time.